So in the RF lens lineup, lenses can be expensive, but Canon does offer 3 affordable lenses. They offer a 50mm 1.8, a 35mm 1.8 with image stabilization, and a newly released 16mm f2.8 for the RF mount. So what I wanted to do is take a look at the 35mm 1.8 with image stabilization and the 16mm that is an extremely small lens, and pair them with the RED Komodo. When using both of these lenses with the RED Komodo, it makes an extremely small package that for run and gun work seems like it could be amazing. I decided to put the portability of these lenses to the test, and I packed the 16mm and 35mm in an extremely small backpack with my RED Komodo and biked around Fort Lauderdale, went to go see my buddy Mark, and just took some B-roll. So here's some footage using both of the lenses, and we'll talk about it when we come back. So as you can see, the 16mm is pretty wide. Now in some of the footage with Mark, the autofocus was on, so that's why you do see it pulsing. Interestingly enough, I do really like how the autofocus works with these lenses. You get less autofocus with the 16mm 2.8 just because it has really more of a depth of field, and the 35mm, if you're shooting at 1.8, obviously has a more shallow depth of field, so it does play a little bit of a focus racking there. But the breathing on the 35mm 1.8 is definitely a lot better than the breathing on the 16mm 2.8, surprisingly. The 2.8 has heavy breathing as you're racking through it, but it is a super wide lens. So, as long as you're setting and forgetting, or you're setting your focus and making sure you're just staying at that point and probably not leaving autofocus on, the 16mm is absolutely usable on the Komodo. Now, the biggest thing with the 16mm is obviously going to be the distortion. There is a crazy amount of distortion, and the Canon cameras do correct for some of that in camera, where the Komodo does not. So I think the 16mm, at least for right now with me, is going to be more of a specialty lens, where the 35mm, especially with the image stabilization, taking out a lot of the micro jitters from my little rig, I think the 35mm is going to get a lot of action. I'm going to come out with a full review on both the 16mm and 35mm separately. I wanted to take these lenses out, put them through their paces, and really see if I could take a super small Komodo rig with me when I'm just going on vacation or hanging out with friends and not having to bring a bunch of EF glass. Using RF, the advantage to it is how small the glass is. And I'm more than happy to use EF glass, adapted glass on my paid gigs, but when I'm just shooting for fun, I want to be as small, as light, as portable as possible, and this RF glass really helps, and I think the image quality is absolutely decent enough to get some great footage on the go. So that's going to be it for today's video. If you have any questions, please feel free to put them in the comments below, and if you got knowledge out of today's video, please make sure to hit that like, subscribe, and notification bell to see the latest videos come out on the channel. Till next time, my name's Geoff Fagien. Thank you for watching, everybody, and I will see you in the next video.